Tademan, tuttulan.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin Nabina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa tabi'in wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsanin ila yaumiddin. Amma ba'd. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Mapya malulong Bangsamoro.
Kanunay po sa niya, napanudtul nami sal kanu. Napanudtul nami sa mga mga tudtulan, kanu lagun at 2016, nando 2017. Mga tudtulan anakauman, kanutar sila no Bangsamoro. Saguna, sumpata nami sal kanu, sa mga at tudtulan, kanu mga nakauman kanutar sila no Bangsamoro, taman sa naadan su kitab a Bangsamoro Organic Law, a kitab no gobyerno no Bangsamoro, kanu Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. Abpo na nami bunsal kanu, sunya at tudtulan, gumanatbon kanu lagun at 2017. Nambay mapanudtul nami sal kanu saguna, kanu ikawalo apadyan, part 8 siya kanu pakalagyan at Tademan siya sa DXJC 99.0 Voice FM. Lagumbun at 2017, July 17, gay na isnin, alas 5:30 sa malulam. Nainitap na no Moro Islamic Liberation Front so draft no BBL, subang sa Moro Basic Law, kanun tuba at timpo, san tuba iikadwadan ang kinasulat kanu BBL. Sa initap na ikanu presidente no Pilipinas, si President Rodrigo Duterte, sa naadan so programa Lusam Malacanang. Yan ang unang kanu kinatap na ikanunto a draft no BBL na so German no More Islamic Liberation Front Alhaj Murad Ibrahim, kapapantagan sa guna interim chief minister. Nya supad kanu kinadtalo-talunin no German no MILF kanunto ba timpo 2017.
The Malaysian facilitator, Dato' Kamaruddin of the GPH-MILF peace process, brothers and sisters in the Moro National Liberation Front, brothers and sisters in the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, fellow mujahideen, friends, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good evening to everyone. At the outset, allow me to thank the leadership and the members of the Bangsamoro Transition Commission for completing its tasks of drafting the Bangsamoro Basic Law. Let me congratulate all of you for a job well done. The composition of the Commission, which drew its membership from government and MNLF and MILF and other sectors, demonstrated our ability to rise above our partisan interests and to work for the welfare of our people. As we submit today the draft Bangsamoro Basic Law, we consign to the President the hope and dreams of the Bangsamoro people. As we hand over to the President the draft Bangsamoro Basic Law, we put our trust and confidence in the process of government. As we submit to you, Mr. President, the draft Bangsamoro Basic Law, we hold on to the promise of the fulfillment of the covenant we signed 3 years ago with the government. Today marks the end of our active participation in the shaping of the Basic Law and commences our complete trust in the ability of government to deliver on the promise of peace and development of our homeland. As the government takes over the shepherding of the Bangsamoro Basic Law, we can only hope that the spirit that inspired us to forge ahead with peace, despite all the challenges, will animate our partners in government to enact a law that shall embody our people's dreams and aspirations. We have gone this far in our journey, achieve peace and fulfill our mutual commitment to uplift the condition of our people. That partnership has brought to us to this stage, the passage of the Bangsamoro Basic Law and the establishment of the Bangsamoro government. We live in a very dangerous times. A couple of years ago, as we watched with agony the systematic dismantling of the first draft of the BBL in Congress, we also observed with growing concern the increasing frustration of our people and the fearful rearing of the ugly head of violent extremism.
Niya mamusupad kanu kinadalo-talo no presidente no Pilipinas si Presidente Rodrigo Duterte kanu kinatapnay kanu draft no BBL.
That I commit to support in front of everybody my covenant with you that I will support and husband this instrument as it goes in the legislature for its consideration. And there will be no objections of the provisions of all that is consistent with the Constitution and the aspiration of the Moro people. I am for this. Within the context of the Republic of the Philippines, there shall be a Bangsamoro country. Maraming salamat po.
Tademan, tuttulan.
Lagumbo na 2017, September 14, napaliw sa katigan so Grand Mufti no Bangsamoro. Sadan lakit lambanin kanu BBL so Bangsamoro Basic Law kanun tuba timpo. Anak kinagbung kanu Niaba Station. Asya nakanggulalang kanu program directorin si To Alid Alfonso. Niya sukad talo no Grand Mufti no Bangsamoro, Sheikh Abu Huraira Abdurrahman Udasan.
Sa mayaman na nakisabo man kinauso sa negosasyon na niya. Sa iganatpan, sa time ni President Marcos, nakatanuran ko. So, katarunin sa everything is negotiable, short of decision. Na continuous yung negotiation na niya, ugera, na marandoy na kuhanin na oras, kanaka pirago na oras. Kaumang kuhanan, nagka-renew so kapambitiya, ugera, we are still on the process of negotiation. Well, on the process po sa maya negotiation, tama na di ma-approve, ibibielan sa TUDTU, kakadsaksya na international community na rapamudtaman sa negotiation. Siya sa kwa na, pagtindaga na MIRF, na kinatami surrender, o gaya na kapanegosyate. Dahil ka na ka sa negotiating table na. Nayasan sa verse number 3 and 2, verse number 62 na Suratul Anfal. Tigin wa in yuridu ay yakhda'uka fa inna hasbakallah. If the enemy while you are on the table of negotiation, you have to risk the trickery of the enemy, the deception of the enemy. Kasamaya mana kapansatul, tamana di ma-approve BBL na siya tanong pa mun sa kapansatulan niya. Dekena, we did not lay down our arm, das ay maire pa dekena may surrender. Why? Kayanin pangirin na pon kuana na BBL niya sa true negotiated political settlement. Dahil kami ito, nanantuba, advice sa Qur'anan niya, ingati ka so kapag tipo no kontranan ka. Na, siya sa kapambunwa na defensive, at nanan verse 190 sa Suratul Baqarah. Katarun Allah Ta'ala, tigin waqatilu fi sabilillahi alladhina yuqatilunakum wala ta'tadu inna Allah la yuhibbul mu'tadin. Muno katigin siya kanulan sa Allah Ta'ala to be benar jihad kajihadan na i'ala'u kalimatillah, tiga bahasa Arab, to keep the word of Allah supreme. Kaya maraka di ukitin to keep the word of Allah supreme. Karena nanto na kena not only through the barrel of the gun way, ar nanto na peaceful way. Kanan ka negotiated way, asal maka pataknan ka sa word of Allah, word of Allah, so to keep the supremacy of the word of Allah. Nanginga na word of Allah, namba Islamanan means peace. Kanambe word of Allah. Nan sa Quranan nan. Anyway, you have to fight in the cause of Allah, those who are fighting you. Amay kasunod ka na pambunusal ka, those who are not fighting you, do not fight them. Nambay ka rula, verse 190 sa Suratul Baqarah. Wala ta'tadu, while you are fighting in the cause of Allah, if undertaking the fight or the war, you have to push it in with vigor, masuk ko na bagel. Dahil kami ito na war anan ay pag-fight sa Muslim na adan limitationin. Wala ta'tadu, tiga ayatan to, do not exceed the limit. Inna Allah la yuhibbul mu'tadin, knowing that Allah loves not those who are exceeding the limit.
Tademan, TUDTULAN.
Kanun Tubumba Alagun 2017. Kanun Tubumba Alagun 2017. Isabo na masla apakaragyan ni na adan kanu ingadu Bangsamoro. Sa kadaklang kanu Bangsamoro na nakatalabog kanun to apakaragyan. Antuba so kinapangadan sa kanu Bangsamoro Assembly. Kanu ika-26, nandu ika-27 kanu ulan-ulan no November 2017. Niya sukad talo ni Professor Abud Said Linga, isa kanu members no MILF Implementing Panel. Pantag kanu nangauna, nandu kanun to kinandilimudan ataw ka-assembly no Bangsamoro kanu Lagun at 2017.
Yan mo man niya kambidayan, nakaginasunangaunan to na kanapanggay klaro, labi din sa first and second, dapan agreement MILF ng gobyerno kanun to ba. Apeso kanong MILF, kanong kina-organize o MILF sa assembly na dapon kapirmay sukab na nakadapang gid klaro ni na kuana saguna niya yakapyan ni saguna niya na nakagina naadani niya sa napirman din sa framework agreement ni Bangsamoro ng so comprehensive agreement ni Bangsamoro na bali ni isa niya kanong process pagukitan para kapaso Congress so Bangsamoro Basic Law. So yan kay ilan ka na langon naman na inisiatiba niya para sa kagapian na Bangsamoro na very supportive Bangsamoro civilian na niya. So malakal ito sa Bangsamoro. Yakapyan na niya basaguna niya na galitan no adan kaysa so iminilip mo so imailip kano niya ba bali sa niya ba assembly na klaro din sa langon tanong so kapag isa-isa no magisan so imailip mo so iminilip ka kano kapag ngilay sa kano solusyon kano problema na Bangsamoro.
Tademan, TUDTULAN.
Kanun tuba kinandilimudan no Bangsamoro kanun tuba Alagun 2017 sa antuba sa Bangsamoro Assembly aluna baton sa Old Capitol no Maguindanao na natalabukan no dimbalangan na tribo no Bangsamoro. Sa natalabukan no labi sa kamilyon sunto amasla apakaragyan anakaw man manam kanutar sila no Bangsamoro. Maylay ka ng mga palas buntal ng mga Bangsamoro susinganin nila na masampay din sutid-tutid to kalilintad no ingad. Masampay din no Bangsamoro sa silanda ni makakamal ka no ingad nila na pusaka. Ingad no Bangsamoro sa makanggulala nilan so kanilan apamamataden adat betad. Labi-labi din so kapas no Bangsamoro Basic Law a kitab akanggulalan no kamal ataw kagoberno no Bangsamoro. Sunto kinandilimudan no labig sa kamilyon na nailay so kinaisa kinapamagayo no Bangsamoro saya kahanda kanunto na andum maada na kitab magan makapas so BBL sa kanunto ba atimpo sa saguna na subang Bangsamoro Organic Law. Alhamdulillah, so BBL na naada na kitab sa yanin ngalan sa saguna na BOL so Bangsamoro Organic Law sa nasampay so kahanda ak kinang gobyerno no Bangsamoro. Kanunto ba General Assembly na natalabukan no presidente no ingad si President Rodrigo Duterte. Niya so kinadtalo-talo no chairman no MILF kapapantagan sa guna interim chief minister Ahod Balawag Ibrahim kilala sa ngalan si Alhaj Murad Ibrahim. Niya so kadtalunin.
Ladies and gentlemen, to give his welcome remarks, may we call Chairman Alhaj Murad Ibrahim, Moro Islamic Liberation Front.
We are here once more to heed the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, enshrined in the glorious Quran, putting premium on consultation or surah as we reach another crucial juncture in our search for peace and justice. Perhaps many of you can still recall that we also gathered here to consult with you when we embarked on the path of negotiation 2 decades ago. On this hallowed ground, you conveyed to us your assent for the Moro Islamic Liberation Front to engage in negotiations with the government of the Republic of the Philippines. That negotiation has led us to many milestones, from the signing of the ceasefire agreement to the forging of the comprehensive agreement in the Bangsamoro and the drafting of the Bangsamoro Basic Law. We have indeed gone a long way in our journey to peace and our search for justice.
Niya mambuso kinadtalo-talo no Chairman no MNLF si Yusuf Jikiri.
May we call on Chairman of the Moro National Liberation Front, Chairman Yusuf Jikiri.
We came to this assembly to register our full support to the BBL. The BBL, which is more appropriate political solution to the Bangsamoro issue, and was prepared by the BTC based on the principle of convergence or harmonization of the signed peace agreements that the MNLF and the MILF had accomplished with the government in a different time in a span of 4 decades.
Niya mambuso kinadtalo-talo no Chairman no BTC kanunto ba mga lagun si Sir Gadzali Jafar Allahu yarhamu kanu kinabatianin kanu manifesto nunto amas laapakaragyan kanu 2017.
Now, to read the unified manifesto of the Bangsamoro, may we call Chairman Gadzali Jafar, Bangsamoro Transition Commission.
Today, more than 10 groups and organizations representing different sectors of society and operating from all parts of Mindanao and members from all over the Philippines have submitted their separate manifestos in support of the enactment of the Bangsamoro Basic Law. The Bangsamoro Basic Law is the legal embodiment of the Bangsamoro people's articulation for self-determination. It is anchored on all agreements that the GPH signed with the Moro Fronts, culminating in the Framework Agreement on the Bangsamoro and the Comprehensive Agreement on the Bangsamoro, which are negotiated political settlement resulting from the constructive and collective discourse between the Moro Islamic Liberation Front and the government of the Republic of the Philippines, aimed at resolving historical injustices and setting the Bangsamoro people's right to self-determination. To sustain the gains of all peace processes between different Moro groups and the government of the Philippines, there is a need for immediate enactment of the Bangsamoro Basic Law, which is consistent with the signed agreements. Farmers, laborers, professionals, women, children, the old and the young, and people in general need peace and security to reign in the region as we seek better quality of lives and to take an equal part in terms of development and productivity. It is fundamental that the peace process will continue to effectively address the pressing issues confronting the people of Mindanao.
Niya mambo sa kinadalo-talo no presidente no Pilipinas, si President Rodrigo Duterte. Niya sukad talunin.
Mga kakabayan, ang nag-iisang Pangulo na galing sa Mindanao, ating Pangulo na may dugong Bangsamoro, the President of the Republic of the Philippines, Mayor Rodrigo Roa Duterte.
And one we're talking about now, limited to the issues, as far as I'm concerned, actually what is at stake here is the preservation of the Filipino Republic and to correct historical injustice, was and still is. But let me discuss with you the second issue. Historical injustice. When was it? Well, many, many centuries ago. Before the coming of the imperialists, as we are now and had been before, we are brothers and sisters of the Malay race. As a matter of fact, you study maybe a little bit about the history of the migration. We belong to the Sri Visayas Empire of the Malay race. But about so many centuries ago, 500 I would say, till now, you reckon the years, the Spaniards came and colonized us for 400 years. Then the Americans came and stayed there for 50 years. We were a subjugated people. But I do not have an issue with God Allah. God Allah is perfect. He charts the destiny of men and nation. But somehow we humans must contribute our sweat towards the realization of God Allah wants us to do. Yan ang nandito ngayon. The historical injustice began when we were slaves of other. Ang akin, it must be inclusive. Lahat, walang maiwan dito sa peace talks na ito. The MIMF, the MNLF, lahat na lumad, kailangan kasali. But I will now state my condition. I will work very hard for it. I will ask Congress to a special session just to hear you talk about this in Congress. Sabi ko, ito, sagrado to. Importante to. At mahalaga to because it would involve eventually, if the people wills it,
a new structure for the entire country. Kung hindi, then let us work out a way. Basta maibigay natin sa ating mga kapatid, lalo na sa Moro, ang arrangement na acceptable sa kanila. Alam ko, realist kayo. At wala namang umaangkin dito sa mundong ito. We are all passing temporarily in this planet. In the end, it's always towards what is heaven for the Christians and for the Muslims. Wala ba tayong we fight here, we kill each other. Then if we are in heaven, what are we supposed to do? It's ever so temporary.
Mga bangsamoro, insyaallah sumpatan nami busal kanu, sunya ang mga tudtulan anakaw man kanutar silan no bangsamoro, taman sa nasampay so kahanda no bangsamoro sa silan na kang gobyerno, nanunaada na kitab, so kitabin a Bangsamoro Organic Law, siya kanu Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. Insyaallah sa mamanipadian, siya tanuden kanu lagun den at 2018 nandu siya den kanu 2019 sa naaden na kitab so BOL so Bangsamoro Organic Law. Kanu ingalan no researcher no Tademan si Dr. Ustad Albaya Badrudin, nandu si hatta sa mga tanggapadako sila Ustad Muksim Pada, Ustad Abdul Wahid Hashim. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Mapya malulam Bangsamoro.